Hey guys, Project Zodiac here. I'm back with another video. This one is going to be a analysis and theory video. I've been wanting to do these for a while now, this type of video, so I think that this is the perfect opportunity for it. I was going to do it for Spider-Man No Way Home, but I just decided not to do it for some reason. Well, not for some reason, I've just been very busy. But that brings me to what I'm about to say. I'm sorry that this video is very quick and rushed, like I'm talking very fast. I have a lot to get through for this video, and I just want to get my thoughts out quickly. I did write a post about this on Reddit, like breaking everything down, where it's going to be more detailed there, so definitely check that out. But I just want to make a quick video, so that's why even like the production of it is literally just quick images and just screen grabs, and yeah, so trying to get this done very fast, so I'm sorry about that, because I do want to go back on working on my other projects that I do need to upload this month, which is a big project that I'm excited for. So with all that said, let's just get into this. This is the analysis for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I'm so excited for this game. So we're going to be looking at the press release first. Basically, Nintendo's site gave us the title names of the two main characters. That's going to be Noah and Mio. There's going to be two big nations that are hostile and they're kind of in turmoil against each other, and they're called the Keys and the Agnes. Basically, the party is going to have 6 party members. Pretty sure I'm posting their images here. We'll be showing them a lot. These characters are basically various different races that we've seen throughout the Xenoblade series, so we know for sure the party's gonna have Homs, High Entia, Agomorti, that's going to be a blade or flesh eater, and then we also maybe have the Nopon, but we're not sure if they're gonna be part of the party because that would mean that that's a 7th member. But then we definitely have somebody who looks like a Uranian or a Tantalese or a Machina. Most likely he's going to be a Machina. We'll get to that later. They also say that life is going to be a central theme. Um, and basically from the press conference, we see that a couple of these characters have a type of branding. We'll get to them in a bit. From the creator of this whole Xeno series, he basically says that the key visual is the Machina sword and a fossilized damaged Urian Titan, which is called Uriah. And it has a huge wound. This visual was basically thought up of towards the end of the development for Xenoblade 1 and towards like the beginning of the development for Xenoblade 2. So it's not something that they came up with randomly now. It's something that they've had in their mind for like over 13 years or over 10 years. A lot of the staff that worked on this game in terms of character designs, music, and the story itself is all mostly people that worked on the other Xenoblade games. And the music this time is going to have a bigger focus on the flute, and the flute is also a key theme to the game, and there's been many other hidden themes and elements in this first trailer. Now, going into the first trailer, there's a lot to analyze here, and there's about 41 points that I have made. Again, I'm just going to be skimming through all of those 40 points. If you want to read them in better detail, definitely take a look at the Reddit post in the bottom. And then at the end, I'll give you my theory of what I believe this game is going to show. So Noah is the black-haired guy. Mio is the Gormati girl who we're assuming is a flesh or blade eater. They both seem to be childhood friends. It seems that the nations that came from the world of Xenoblade 1 took up the Machina technology and also grew closer to the Machina. Noah seems to be a descendant from somebody in the world of Xenoblade 1, as his outfit matches the style of the people there. Mio seems to be from the nation that came from the world of Xenoblade 2. It seems that the two worlds basically merged and have lived together in harmony, but something happens and they end up fighting over time. Noah is basically upset that Mio picks the side she does and they fight, but then it also seems to be that Noah and Mio kind of make peace and join each other, and they go on a different path than the ones that their two worlds are in. The guy that basically has a huge X on his face looks like Van Damme from Xenoblade 2. He could be a much older Zeke though from Xenoblade 2 because Zeke and this dude that does have the same hair color, eye color, and they both have the same eye patch location, and the eye patch also still does have like a design. Um, but it doesn't seem like it's a turtle like Zeke's design was. But it could also be a reincarnated Van Damme, as again the game centers around life. More on that later. But to make it simpler, we're just going to be calling this dude the Zeke looking guy. So the Zeke looking guy basically says you're not enemies, further stating that the two worlds did live in peace at some point and that Noah and Mio could be childhood friends. The gray skinned dude stops Noah and he says, I can't believe you're really him, suggesting that Noah could be royalty or the descendant of somebody important, maybe Shulk's future descendant. Um, and maybe Mio is Nia's daughter, if we're thinking about that. The gray skinned dude looks like he could be a Uranian, but he also looks like a Tantalese. But he's most likely going to be a Machina, based off of his design and the other things I noticed. Um, Again, the party seems to consist of 6 people, as it's been confirmed. In one half, though, I have noticed that in one half, we have one Hums, one Hyantia, that seems to be a hybrid one, and one Machina. This half basically represents Xenoblade 1 and the races there. On the other half of the party, we have one Hums, one Flash Eater, and then one Blade, and this basically represents some of the races in Xenoblade 2. Though it could also be stated that the other Hums, the one that we don't know his name, the one that wears white, he could basically be a Hum from the Xenoblade X universe if that gets merged in, given his abilities shown in the trailer. And I can't really go into too much spoilers with that. It's just it's something that happens in Xenoblade X. Basically, Noah the Machina looking guy, the Hyantia girl, they all have this pattern on their symbols on different parts of their bodies. But then the ones that I said represent Xenoblade 2, they don't seem to have that symbol anywhere. So basically, I'm assuming that the people from Xenoblade 1 side of the world, they all get branded with this symbol, and this symbol is basically on a couple of other people that we see that have the same black outfits that these 3 characters have at the start of the game. So that could be another indication of that the black wearing outfit people are from the Xenoblade 1 world and the white wearing outfit people are from the Xenoblade 2 world. Also, this branding that the Xenoblade 1 tribe seems to have is also on their weapons, and many people are saying it's Zanza's pattern, and this actual symbol itself is integrated into the 3 in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, so it is something that's very important. It seems that Noah and Mio come to their senses and stop fighting each other at some point, because you see them talking with each other and they actually exchange flutes. So in Noah's flute, we also see what this pattern that some people are basically saying is the pattern of Zanza's wings. But while in Mio's flute, it's a totally different color and different style. So they basically exchange flutes, at least for one scene, and play each other's songs, I guess. Basically, as I said earlier, there's the black and white outfits, but the colorful outfits that people tend to have in this game and the whole world design itself seems to be very, very similar to that of Xenoblade Chronicles X. So maybe Xenoblade Chronicles X is part of the big merger that's happening with these 2 universes, but more on that later. Now, the white and orange looking guy in the party, he could maybe be from Xenoblade X due to his abilities to control machines. Again, I know I mentioned that earlier, but it's just saying it again. Also, what we learn about Planet Mirror from Xenoblade X, that planet could play a big factor in the actual game of Xenoblade 3 as well. We're almost halfway done through my points. The game really talks about life, and Nintendo put the word life in quotation marks. So this makes me think that it will deal with the ether and spirits based off of dialogues from the trailer and what is said about ether in the other games. So again, maybe Van Damme could have reincarnated, and that Zeke looking guy is Van Damme, just instead of a Uranian, he's a Homs. But again, we're not totally sure. I still think it could just be an older Zeke. It's also important to know that, as stated before, the tribes from Xenoblade 1 seems to have black outfits for their soldiers, while the tribes for Xenoblade 2 seems to have white outfits for their soldiers. It's important to note that Melia, who is from Xenoblade 1, is also wearing black, and Nia, who is from Xenoblade 2, is also wearing white, and they're both the leaders of their world. So it's kind of like a yin yang type of thing, basically. Also, Noah is probably a reference to Noah from the Bible, given what we know the Xeno series does in terms of all its references and symbolism towards various religions. And this is important later on as well. But maybe his quest is going to be trying to save the planet from being destroyed. This could also be the first time that we see part 6 of the Perfect Works story. Basically, the Xeno series is basically trying to tell a 6-part story um, that the creator of the series had tried to tell all the way back in the PS1. He wasn't able to finish telling that story, and then he tried telling it again with Xeno. So the first time was with Xenogears, then he tried it with Xenosaga, and now he's trying it again with Xenoblade. But he basically gave outlines of what the other 5 of what the 6 parts would be. Xenogears, the first game was part 5. Xenosaga, I believe, is parts 1 through 3. And Xenoblade has been telling basically everything for the most part. But the only thing that's not stated in the outlines is what happens in part 6. It's very, very vague. So that's why I'm saying this could be the first time we see what part 6 is about, and more on that later on. Again, I want to make more videos on Xenoblade and analyzing it and all of that, and like how the various Xeno series kind of relate to each other. It's very complicated, but it's something I really want to do. So anyway, the Blade girl in the party seems to be a regular Blade, but she doesn't have a driver. Also, she has black hair, but the tips of her hair are glowing blue, almost like flames, so maybe she's Bridget's daughter. We don't fully know if Blades can have kids, but it could be possible since there are many humanoid Blades. And for those that don't know, a Blade in Xenoblade 2 is basically a sentient being that comes from a crystal, and a driver is the person that resonates with that crystal and awakens this blade, and then the two work together. Some people end up marrying their blades and or drivers. Some people just accept them as family or as friends. It touches on a lot of things between that dynamic. So it's again very complicated. Now, the world that this is set on is not the Bionis, it's not the Mechonis from Xenoblade 1 and 2, it's not Planet Mirror from Xenoblade X, and it's not Aurest from Xenoblade 2. This world is called Ionios, and Ionios is Italian for Ionian. Basically, the Ionians are one of 4 Greek tribes that the Greeks divided themselves into. And the Ionians were forced out of their land by other Greek tribes, and then they interacted with other people of the new land that they moved to, and then they soon later moved to the coast of Asia Minor. That is very, very important because, again, Xenoblade itself is very, very complicated, or sorry, the Xeno series is very complicated, and it makes references like this that is hugely important to the overall story, even though you think it's just a reference to like something, and it's nothing more than just a simple reference, but no, it ends up being extremely important to the overall plot of the story. And you'll see that with my theory and with the next point. So basically, going back to the Ionians, many Ionian philosophy was opposed nature. They were skeptical of religious explanations and also natural occurrences. They basically only focus on the mechanical and physical explanation of things. So they were kind of I don't want to say anti, I'm just saying kind of. I don't want to offend anyone or say anything wrong. I'm just saying from what I understand, it seems like they kind of try to oppose spirituality and nature, and they wanted more materialistic viewpoints. So that is also very, very important for the next few points. So Ionios in the Xenoblade world also sounds like the Greek word for aionios, which means which means without beginning and end. So in other words, everlasting. Now Melia in the trailer says the sentence Ouroboros are borderless world or something like that. Ouroboros is similar in nature to the word of Ionios, where Ouroboros means where it's a cycle of life, death, and rebirth that's never ending. So it's basically the same thing. So she could be saying that maybe Ouroboros is a group that just keeps coming and like taking over their world. Maybe she's saying Nia's people are Ouroboros. Don't really know. That sentence that she says is a little confusing, given without context. So Noah basically also says fighting in order to live and living to fight. That's the way of our world, Ionios. He says at the very start of the trailer, basically he's saying they are in an endless battle as far as Noah and Mio knows. It maybe never started and maybe it never will end. So it could have just been something that's been going on since way before they've been born, way before they were born. We also see that this time there's going to be 4 characters on screen at once instead of 3. You can basically drive vehicles, and this boat looks like Junks from Xenoblade 1. There's going to be rail grinding, which is pretty cool, and Mio also seems to be able to jump out of water. The Nopon are back, which is to some people's happiness, I guess. They're not that annoying, but they're back, and they could be party members, but we don't know, maybe temporary ones, and also now they wear wigs. The face mechon are back, and they're also controlled by Melia's people, again further stating that maybe they are closer with the Machina. Noah's sword seems to be similar to Shulk's Monado from Future Connected, but it's also strangely the colors of Pyra's sword. Mio also seems to be using Nia's weapons. Mio is also the one that probably says, "Fine for you, isn't it? All that time you got." And she might be saying that for Noah. Maybe she is just close in death, like maybe something is happening to her. Or maybe she finds out that Noah is immortal for some reason, or has a very, very long life for some reason. It also seems that Mio and the Blade party member kind of know each other by the time the game starts. And maybe they know the Machina guy too. But I also think maybe the Hyentia and the origami technology guy of the party kind of all know each other at the same time. Because that same guy, when he's fighting the Hyentia girl, they start arguing, and she's thinking that he doesn't care about their friends and wants to kill them. And he ends up telling her they're not her friends anymore because they are his fuel. So not his as in that guy's. He says the word, they're not your friends anymore, they're his fuel. So he's talking about somebody, and how these people are going to be fuel for this person. This is kind of in line with what we've seen about the Telethia, and the Blades itself as well, and it goes into with the other Xeno series as well. That's what I'm assuming it's about. Again, it's very complicated. Now, for some reason, the High Antia party members' wings change colors from black to white and white to black, so it's a little confusing because we've never seen a High Antia do that before. Also, and I did say I think that she is a hybrid because her wings are small, not huge like full-blood High Antias. Um, the High Antia party member also talks about, well, her exact quote is, "What good is it filling up all these flickering clocks in our eyes?" Mio later on says, "The flame clock, it has to go." So maybe because they're talking about clocks, it's related to Xenoblade X, given what happens in that game with the ether and the hums. Um, how like there's even like a huge clock tower that keeps showing like the percentage of the ether that they have. So again, it could somewhat be tied to that. Or if it's not, then maybe it's something that's happening in their world that they're using the people as its fuel, like one of the party members says, right? So could be related to that. And the he that he's talking about is the person who's in charge of this mechanism of this clock. We're almost done with these points, and then we'll go into my theories. So one of the party members also says, "I knew it. I saw this coming." So maybe visions from Xenoblade 1 are back in Xenoblade 3. Um, and it kind of sounds like it could be the Blade girl that says this. Um, a very interesting thing about Xenoblade 2 is that each of the races have specific dialects. Whereas, for example, one of the race might have a Scottish accent or a mainland English accent, or a Australian accent. Well, the Blades tend to have American accents. So, and the girl that says this seems to have a American accent. So I'm assuming that's why it's the Blade that's saying this. Because the other characters all have their specific accents for the races that they're representing. There's also a face mechon that has wheels on it for some reason. It looks cool, but basically this thing has the symbol of the Aegis on its chest. So maybe the world of Xenoblade 2 is the one that built this. And it could also just be that the two worlds did end up living in harmony and just share their technology with each other. And again, as I mentioned before, Noah's flute has Zanza's wings design on it. So that was all I could find from this trailer that I think is really important. Now, as for my theory for what I think is going to happen in this game, well, there's a lot to say. So I'm just going to put this title card here and just talk over this title card. So basically, from all the information in this first trailer, here's my theories. I think that this is going to be part 6 of the Perfect Work story. I think it's going to show the world in a state with no higher power. And at some point, since there is no higher power that created their worlds anymore, things got unbalanced and the world started to collapse on each other. And then we get all to maybe all 3 if Xenoblade X is in its own universe and not in the Galaxy of Xenoblade 2 universe. But we get all 3 or all these worlds merging together, and the leaders of them being Melia for Xenoblade 1 and Nia for Xenoblade 2 make 2 tribes and they decide to live in harmony. But basically, due to the worlds merging or the universes merging, things are a little bit different for now. For example, now it seems like we have blades that don't need drivers or that can survive after their drivers die or be a very long distance away from their drivers, which wasn't possible in Xenoblade 2. And also now, for some reason, Melia's people get branded with this logo, and over time, I feel like maybe people are gonna begin to forget about the ether and the spiritual side of the universe, and someone begins to manipulate things, causing Melia and Nia's and their people basically to fight. And this fight has been going on for what seems like many, many years. People are almost basically, and people could probably say that this fight has been going on for many, many lifetimes due to Nia being what she is and due to Melia being a High Antia. but there's still people who try to live in harmony, and maybe Noah and Mio and the rest of the party meet when they're little and become friends, but then one day when they grow up, they kind of have to pick a side of which one they're choosing. So then the game opens up with them having been like picking the sides that they picked, and then they're kind of upset that they picked the other sides, and because of that they have to fight. um, so basically, a big theme about this is picking sides and friends feeling betrayed by their friends. Um, so they kind of start turning on each other. And also, it seems like now a older Zeke who's still alive helps the team remember that they're friends, and also kind of tells them the things that this world has forgotten. And he also does tell them that they have to destroy the true evil. This makes them go on a journey where Noah comes in contact with the ether, and the spirits tell him about life. Here he maybe even maybe he could meet Rex and Shulk and Pyra and Mithra and Alvis. And he could eventually come in contact with the wave existence, which was in the Xenogears and Xenosaga versions of this story. The wave existence is presented as like basically the true god. Again, Xenoblade is a little bit complicated, but yes. So it's kind of presented as a true god, from what is hinted at. It's not ever fully straight out said, it's just hinted at. Um, but anyway, so maybe the wave existence gets in contact with Noah, tells Noah to build an ark, and it tells him that a new land shall be made for them. So that is basically what I think is like the main thing, and basically Noah has to like get people off the planet maybe, or get them to a different place. And so there's a couple things to consider now when we start thinking about Xenoblade Chronicles X. It could be, as I said above, that it could just be in its own universe and it was merged with the other two. But there's also the possibility that it's not in a different universe, but instead it's part of the Xenoblade 2 universe, just again on a different planet. My personal theory on where Xenoblade Chronicles X takes place in is that it's set right after Klaus did his experiment, and that it's in the same universe as Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and that the experiment made its way further than we thought it did, and it affected planet Mira. So Mira ends up getting merged with the other two worlds as well, because it's, from what we understand, the universe is mixing together. It could also be that Mira is part of the wave existence due to what we find out about Mira in Xenoblade X. Another thing to consider is that Mira got sent to its own universe after the experiment. And if that's the case, and the experiment being Klaus's experiment, and if that's the case, it could be that it could have just been brought back and merged with the other two. But not merged like as infused like the other two worlds seems to be, but just in the same universe now. And maybe there's some contact between them, and again, maybe that's why Noah needs to get people to Mira now. But now let's say that Mira is not from a different universe, um, and it's not really connected to the other one. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, for me, I think Xenoblade Chronicles X is set in the same time frame where Klaus does his experiment, and way before Torna starts, which is another Xenoblade game. So what I'm trying to say with that is, basically Mira, it's going to be a little bit confusing, but what I'm trying to say is that because this is so far into the future, and if Mira is set in the same universe as Xenoblade 2 and it gets pulled in, basically what Noah contacts in Mira in Xenoblade 3, it's not the same people that we've met in Xenoblade Chronicles X, because this is way after the events of Xenoblade Chronicles X. That's what I'm trying to say. But now, going with that same idea, but instead of this all happening after the events of Xenoblade X, one theory could be the other way around, that maybe Mira came to being due to the wave existence, um, basically talking, and to Noah, and the entire event of Xenoblade Chronicles X takes place after Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Um, so it would so that would technically make Xenoblade Chronicles X Xenoblade 4. Um, but so maybe with that theory, the wave existence telling Noah, like, it creates Mira and tells Noah that aliens are coming, and for him to contact them and build the arcs so that he's able to help mankind leave Earth due to the war that's going on in Ionis. Um, because basically he knows that the world is going to be destroyed and a new one awaits them. And that is then again leads into the event of Xenoblade X. Though the problems with this version of the theory, of Noah having them to go to Mira, and that's what leads to the events of Xenoblade X, rather than this is set, like him sending them to Mira is set after the events of Xenoblade X. Basically, the big problem with that is that what is depicted in Xenoblade X at the very beginning of the game, like literally the opening cutscene, it basically depicts the conflicts that were happening during Klaus's time before he does the experiment. Maybe even seconds or minutes before he does the experiment. And the ships that leave Earth, they end up having the modern day country flags and names on them. So that's something that the people of Ionis wouldn't have, those specific flags and countries. So that is basically one thing that doesn't make this little version of that theory make sense. So yeah, I think that basically the other version makes sense, that being that Mira came from the Xenoblade 2 universe, and is now set after the events of Xenoblade X, and Noah has to get more people to Mira now. But there's a lot of different ways that I didn't even talk about that Xenoblade X could tie into Xenoblade 3. So yeah, that's basically my analysis for this trailer, and sorry it took me so long. I'm just very excited for this game. But yeah, with all of that said, hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. Me and my friend were talking for like so many hours. It was like 6 hours, a couple of hours of texting, and then here and there, and then like just 2 hours straight of just talking on the phone, analyzing it like crazy. So I do have to give him credit as well for helping me come up with these theories. So thank you, Tflame, if you're watching this, for that. His YouTube channel is in the description below. So with all that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.